Hi everyone. Thank you Vishwa for a wonderful introduction. I hope everyone had a very good break. Today I'm going to talk about let's put accessibility in React app. Who I am? My name is Neha Sharma. As Vishwa told that I'm working as a software development manager at Tesco. I'm also the founder of JS Lovers, a community for all the front-end developers. I don't have any disability, you can see from my picture. I write a lot about accessibility at a11ytips.dev. You can follow me on Twitter. Hello, Neha. Neha with double H. It's not a numerology or something. When you have the one of the most common name in India, you need to play with your spelling of your name. And yes, I do a lot of calligraphy. So if you are going to follow me on Twitter, you will be seeing a lot of art done by me. Why accessibility matters? Why we are even talking about it? Accessibility, there's a myth. There is not just one myth, there are a lot of myths around it. A lot of people think that when we say accessibility, it is only related to disabled folks, and when they say disabled, they assume permanent disability. But however, this is not true at all. The reason is disability is not just permanent, it could be temporary. And when we say accessibility, accessibility is for all and everyone if it's on web. Example, the keyboard is one of the most common and freely available assistive tool, you can say, through which people access the web applications. And it's not a rule written anywhere that you need to be disabled permanently or temporary to access or to use that keyboard. So accessibility is not just related to disabled folks, it is related to everyone. Example, if someone tomorrow will have a eye surgery and your application is not accessible, that person won't be able to use that application for at least 3 to 4 weeks till that person is not recovered. As a result, either that person has to, if it's a he or she is a working person, that person has to take off from the work. If your application is a utility application, that person won't be able to access it and not able to order things which is necessary for that person. So accessibility is not just related to disabled folks. And in India especially, web creators, when I say web creators, we are developer, designer, product managers, project managers, they are not even aware of accessibility. In my 10 to 11 years of career, I faced only two interviews where the folks asked me about accessibility. At this platform, I really want to put this point in front of you. If you are a developer having the power to hire the folks for your company, please spend 5 to 10 minutes to ask about accessibility. The reason is, if candidate doesn't know about it, that person will go back, search about it, learn about it, and from there onwards, that person will learn the importance of accessibility. We developers are focused too much in following the right perfect tech stack, but we forget that accessibility is also as important as the web performance or the code quality. Same goes for the designer, product managers, and project managers. So we need to make sure that we need to make a lot of noise around it. And especially at the time of the COVID, since last 1 year, the whole world is suffering from COVID. As a result, everyone is in the lockdown, everything went online. Now imagine the utility apps through which you are ordering groceries, doing digital payments, your entertainment applications, your cab booking, medical booking, everything is digital. And those applications are not accessible. And I'm not lying, I have done a lot of audits of those applications, those apps, website, everything. A lot of them are not accessible. Now imagine a person staying alone, a disabled person trying to order food for himself or herself and not able to do just because the application is not accessible, because we web creators didn't even thought about it, but we are showing off in our resumes on our LinkedIn that see, we created a very fancy React.js based application. So please think about it. One of the thing is 70% of disabilities are not visible. That's why I mentioned in my intro with my photo, I don't have disability. Might be I do have. A lot of people assume that disabilities are visible, but 70% of disabilities are not visible. So please do not assume. Please do not assume. Uh, One of the example I can give you is the color blindness. There are a lot of folks who suffer with the color blindness, And color blindness is a very serious disability issue with respect to the accessibility, the way they interact with our web application. Because if a person who is colorblind, and if you are trying to show a very colorful image to that person, which has very important information, for an example, if I will take the example of metro, the metro maps are indicated, the indicator they use is red, blue, yellow color to show where which train metro is going. But for that person, everything is might be grayish, so that is non acceptable for that person. So do not assume that disabilities are visible. Now, talking about India, today morning I just did this Google that do we have data of disabled folks in our country. To my surprise, yes, we do have. Why I was surprised? Because in India, no one was talking about accessibility. But you can see, you will say, oh, it's 2.21%, Neha, then why we are talking about? Please, it's not just 2.21%. Think about the impact you are creating in those 2.2 person's life. Example, I'm going to give you a lot of example, because since I started working on accessibility, I was trying to connect with a lot of disabled folks who were sharing their experience, that how web is breaking their progress in their career and their life. So one of the example is universities websites, their admission forms, they are not accessible. As a result, a person won't be able to fill the form, that person won't be able to go for higher education. And if a person is not able to go for higher education, why? Because the form was not accessible. Why? Because the web creators were not aware of this thing. So please do not think it is like it's just 2.21%. Please think about the impact you are creating in their life. And one of the most important thing which I repeat in my every talk, web by default was accessible, is accessible. The first ever website created is still accessible. So what is happening? Somewhere we web creators are breaking the accessibility on the web. So few assistive device, when I say assistive device or tools, there are few tools which disabled people use. I just mentioned two, keyboard and screen readers, but there are others also. But for this talk, I want to create the scope. I want to define the scope. And also as a developer, you can just focus on these two tools for the starting. Once you are good with that, then you can go ahead and explore the other tools. As long as you are taking care of these two tools, you would be good. The first one is very cheap, freely available, everyone use it, keyboard. A lot of people use keyboard to access their web applications. They don't use mouse. So you will be hearing a lot of phrase like throw away your mouse, which means try to access the whole application end to end by using just keyboard, by using just tab, shift tab, and the arrow keys. The other one is screen reader. The person who is blind, they depend upon the screen reader. I'm sorry, there is a typo in JAWS. I will rectify that. So screen readers, they are paid and they are free also. If you are a Mac user, VoiceOver is the one which come freely with that. I am using VoiceOver a lot, and JAWS and NVDA, they are the paid one. If your organization is ready to invest on these tools, it would be great. But otherwise, at least have one Mac machine in your company or in your team to have the screen reader testing. One disclaimer here I want to add, working with screen reader is challenging. I can relate to it, as the browser experience is different. Similarly, screen reader experience is different. So one thing which is working on VoiceOver might not work on JAWS. The way screen reader is reading aloud on JAWS might be very different from NVDA. So yes, there are differences between these screen readers. For the starting, I would suggest you pick one screen reader and stick to that. Okay, so how does React.js and accessibility related? So is React.js accessible or not? So the good thing is when React.js came out, their creator knew about accessibility very well, and they have a one dedicated page on their official documentation. If you are a pro React developer and you haven't even read that page, please go back. Please go back and read that page. That page has all the information a one React developer need to start with accessibility. React.js already handle a lot of things. In that documentation, they mention about the good practices and how to do. Example, if you are using a tab index attribute in React.js, how to write that. And also they have given the links of the official documentation of accessibility. So it's not like that React.js is not accessible. They are. Plus they have it is the part of their official documentation. So please, tomorrow is Sunday. Please, for a few hours, just go back and read that document. Go on Monday, open your code base and start doing the fixes. Now you will say that, Neha, if React.js is already accessible and we are using React.js, then it's not our headache. Let the tester do the testing. It's not my responsibility. That's the problem. Every conversation boils down to only one question: who is responsible for accessibility? And I have seen so many ping pong going here and there, from tester to developer, developer to designer, designer to project manager, and so on. But the fact is, it's a team responsibility. Accessibility cannot be done by just one person, and that is developer. I have seen a lot of burden of accessibility come on the developer. But the fact is, a developer alone cannot deliver or ship an accessible project. A developer needs accessible designs. A developer need a product manager who can understand the accessibility and suggesting the features which are accessible. A project manager who can work on the estimations and can agree that yes, for accessibility we would require some extra time in our project. A tester who understand that accessibility is very important and the defects of those should be on the red zone or P1 or the priority 1 defects. So this is very, very important. And the one more thing very important in the team is the content writer. So if you will go to the official documentation of accessibility, they have 3 levels: single A, double A, triple A. Double A is the minimum level you need to achieve. Apart from that, in the double A and triple A, they speak a lot about content accessibility. So your content person is also very crucial for your accessibility. Cool. So now we will move to the demo. In the demo, what we are going to do is we are going to learn calligraphy. So I told you I do a lot of calligraphy. So I build a very basic React.js app for my calligraphy workshop. Now, if you will look at this application, you will see that there are headings, there are images, there are lists, there are links, there are some stuff. So the first thing what I am going to do is I'm going to use one tool. It's a tool which come by default from the Chrome team, which is known as the Lighthouse. So the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this tool to see where my accessibility score is of this application. So let's see. Okay, so perfect 100. Wow. So it means my application is perfect and my accessibility is 100 score. I'm very good and I can ship this application right away. But why I have this on localhost? Why I haven't pushed it in the prod? So now the question comes that as a developer, can this 100 score assure you that your accessibility is perfect? You need to question this in accessibility because you cannot dependent upon the automated tools. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into my code. So the first thing I told you is the keyboard tool. What keyboard tool does is through keyboard, I will try to access this application. Now my expectation is that when I am doing tab, it should guide me that where I am currently on which link. So let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my mouse on the left top and doing my tab. So I have no idea where my focus is going. So can you see the problem? I am pressing my tabs, but where the focus is going, I have no idea. So can I depend it upon this? No. So for this, if I have to do a small fix here, what I need to do is this. So I don't know how many of you can relate to this. Outline none. In my career, I have seen many testers who used to raise a bug and say, come on, there's a very ugly blue line coming around the buttons and the link, please remove it. And we used to go ahead and we used to remove it. Never ever do it. Please never do it. The reason is because of that, this particular issue comes which you can see that my focus is not coming. So please never ever do it. So let's see now. Again, I'm doing the tab, and you can see, I can see where my focus is going. A very small one line of CSS change, and you can see the impact. Now I, without using my mouse, I can easily see where my focus is going. Now, the other thing which is related to focus is your focus trap. As of now, on my left navigation, there are only 4 links. But take an example of Amazon, where the left navigation is very, very long. They have sub navigation, and God know what they have. In that case, what is the most common issue is people get trapped in that who are using keyboard. So they don't know how to come out of it. There is no perfect answer of that, there is no perfect solution of that. But what you can do is, your product manager, your designer can sit and think about, they can brainstorm that how they can break the focus trap. They need to make sure that either it's a left navigation, either it's a modal, either it's whatever the complex module you are building, the focus journey through keyboard should be mentioned in that, and it should be the part of your artifacts. So whenever the artifacts handover is happening, please review that. Is your designer mentioned that how the focus will move? Because you need to understand the way we are interacting with the mouse and website is different the way keyboard interact, and is very different the way screen reader interact. So this is very important. Now the second thing I want to mention here is, if I will go to one page, you will see the title. Now, in single page application, what happened is we are so busy in focusing on other things that we forget that the title of the page is important. It's very important for the screen reader user, because it's a single page application. It is not going to get refreshed. So they never know where they are going. So if a screen reader user is going to come on workshop detail, and this route get changed, that person will never able to know, okay, that person reached to the workshop detail. So it's very important to keep changing the title of the page, and it should be very clear that what this page is about. One common practice of having the title tags I have seen, they will just say welcome to like their company's name on every page. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. So one of the thing, as a React developer, what you can do is you can make a component. I have made a very simple component out of this. For this, you can make a HOC also of this, and you can just make sure that it's reusable. It's very, very important to have the title tag of every page there. This is one of the tiny detail, but people miss it. So yes, so you need to take care of this also. Now moving towards my this particular page. So if you will look on the right side of the content, you will see this is a heading, then this is the heading, tools for calligraphy is heading. But is it really a heading? Now what happened is with React developers that we depend a lot on the components. We use reusable components, and we say, oh, we are using the heading components. Okay, but is this heading component accessible? Have you review this heading component code? If you are deciding on design system, have you reviewed the design system code, or you are just saying, okay, it's a heading component, so it's a heading component? Now the problem here is, if I will show you, if you will go and check the HTML of this, you will see this is not heading, this is a div tag. And thanks to our CSS, we are able to make fool of the people, but we cannot make fool of the screen readers of assistive tools. Now the impact of this, of not using the right semantic tag, which is heading, is screen readers are not going to pick it up. They are not going to call it out that this is a heading. Second problem is the way as I told you, the way I interact as a uh, with mouse or the keyboard is very different from the screen reader. Blind people cannot see it. So what they do is they depend upon the headings. What they do is with their hotkey dependent upon the operating system, they press H key. Now a pop-up will come and it will give them the overview of all the headings. So creative solves, tools for calligraphy, rules for calligraphy, and so on. And then they can decide that which section they want to go. So just because you haven't reviewed the code, that it's a actually heading or not, the impact is the screen reader user will never able to read the content ever. So please think about these things. Also, if I will disable the CSS of this application, this will not come out as a heading. So if I will show you from here, I will disable every the CSS of this. You can see it just a text. Now why I'm doing it? Because I told you the first ever application website which created is still accessible. When we say accessible, it means if you disable CSS, JS, still the structure of the page, the information of the page is still the same the way they wanted to share. So that's why it's important. Now moving to our code, let's see what we have done here. So this is my heading component, and I'm not able to see my mouse. Okay. So because of this demo, I actually did this wrong thing here. So what I will do here is now I will remove it. Plus, please use your props type. These are very important to make sure your team or you are writing an accessible code. By this, what you can do is, even if the new developers are coming in your team and they are not aware of these things, you can make sure that there is a requirement that by default props, by props, or even the test cases, if you are using test case, you are doing unit testing. In unit testing also you can make this. So the heading should be between H1 to H6, otherwise the test cases will fail. So there are ways to enforce accessibility in your application, and it's sad to see that we React developers are miss the point of semantic tags. And if the HTML5 is there, it is there for a reason. It is there for the screen readers, accessibility, browsers, and all. Otherwise, obviously, they will never move to section, nav, menu, and all this. They will be happy in the div. So please think about these things. Okay. Cool. Now let's move further. Now the next thing come here is the this. So if I will ask you, let me just try to zoom here. What I wanted you to focus is whom to follow for inspiration. I have provided some text here, but can you tell me it's a text or it's a link? It's very hard. To check this, what I have to do is I have to hover over this and I have to see if this hand icon is coming, then it's a link. Now the point here, what I'm trying to make is, when I said that accessibility is everyone, not just disabled folk, this is the example that I can see what it is. I can use the mouse, but on the first look, I cannot be sure that this is a link or this is a text. So for that, I have to move over. I have to hover my mouse over this. Now, why this is a problem? This is a problem because this is an accessibility issue. I am not able to understand that this is a link or what. Now, what I'm trying to say here is, by default, if I will remove this all styling, you will see that by default, A is always underlined and blue color. Please keep that underline there. Please, it's very important for the readability and for the folks to understand they wanted to visit this link or not. So have the text decoration underlined there, or add a cue there that this is a link so that the person can see it and understand, okay, this is a link and this is not the text. Other thing is, by default, all the interactive elements are focusable. So if you are going to use some other semantic, other tag apart from A, for example, div, and you will add an event over that, you need to handle a lot of things by yourself, like adding a focus event, handling the behavior of that div to work like a link. It's not just about clicking and redirecting. It's about a lot of other things which A tag by default do. One of the example is screen reader. When the screen reader comes to a link, it announces it's a link. So that behavior also you need to add. If you want to be a productive developer, my advice to you, stick to the semantic tags. Please do not move to some any other tag as long as there is no other tag available. Only then. Always give the priority to the semantic tag. Now moving to the next thing is, I will come back to the images at the end. Before that, I wanted to talk about the one of the most serious thing, which is forms. Forms are very crucial for the business as well as for the user. There are a lot of patterns around forms, the way designer design, the way developers develop. One thing about accessibility is the there is not a one right solution. You need to do a lot of brainstorming. You need to come up with your own solution. So there is one of the very common pattern is not to have label, but make placeholder act as a label. If you will run screen reader on this, it will be fine. It will read enter your name. But the moment I will enter my name and then I will come back with screen reader, it is not going to tell me that which field it was, what was required from this field. First issue. Second issue is with the keyboard user. So the moment I will be here and I will start typing here, the placeholder will be moved. Now we assume that we are genius, so it's fine. I know what is I am writing. But imagine this form is going to be a very big, a long form. Might be you are applying for a loan, and the person who is filling that this form is not as as tech savvy as we are. Then what will happen? The person will be lost that what was required. So every time the person has to remove and wait. So this is the other problem. So it is important to have label with your input field and have a relation with them with using for. Now other thing is we do understand that there are patterns, there are design. Many times you don't want a label, we do understand that very well. And there is one another myth that accessible websites are not beautiful, so which is not true at all. So when you want to get rid of the label at all, you can use Arya label. Now Arya is uh, one of the concept which a lot of developers are not aware of. I'm still exploring it. Every time I build some custom module, I go and read about Arya. So what Arya does is Arya provide you a lot of attributes and properties and role to add to your HTML elements to provide extra information for your screen readers. There is a one saying with Arya, no Arya is better than the bad Arya, which is absolutely true. The moment you will start adding Arya tag, screen readers will start giving priority to that. And the moment you are adding a wrong Arya tag, screen readers are getting wrong information. For example, here if I will add role button, it's an input of search, but I'm saying button, the screen reader will read it's a button, which is a wrong, absolutely wrong. So small example just to you can relate. Now in this case what I have done is I will show you the code. So I have passed my label here. Now in my component of input, what is happening is it is taking this label as Arya label by. So if you will, sorry, Arya label. So here it is coming. Now what will happen is when the screen reader will come, it will not find any label, but it will find Arya label. So it will read it aloud. So any moment you don't want a label, you can use Arya label. You can use Arya label by also. For example, you have an input tag, or you have for example, you have tooltip, and in tooltip you can add Arya labeled by. So it will, you want, the moment you want to provide extra information, you can put that there. So this is about the forms. Now moving to the images. Images are very important for every application. Without images, I haven't seen much website nowadays. With images, the problem is people who are on screen readers, for them it doesn't add any value. But if you are using a image which is holding information, please provide that
Neha,
information. Yeah.
we have 5 more minutes for your talk.
Okay, so I'm running out of the time. So I will switch to the PPT because I have all these things mentioned here. Let me just go here. Okay, so in the demo, what I was trying to show you, the problems, and in the React, how by using the components, props, test cases, and everything, you can handle these things. So moving ahead, the alt tag which I was trying to show you is there is a guide. Do not put alt tag for every image, please. Only provide alt tag when you want to convey the information to the screen reader user. If that image is for only for beautification or not adding any value to the user, please skip the alt tag. Also, do not start the alt tag with image of, picture of. If that image is clickable, it's a link, then provide the information of the link, not the image. Please take care of these guidelines. It's very important. One cheat sheet I can provide you here is What you can do is you can request to have a meaningful image name, and if your user is not providing a alt tag, you can pick that image name as your alt tag. Okay, so you are doing code review in your day to day life. I would request you to do the code review with accessibility in your mind. Think about focus, think about title tag, look at the semantic HTML. One thing is image type, which image type it is. It is a SVG, it is a JPEG, as well as it is adding information or not. Test cases are there. If yes, are the test cases are handling accessibility test cases or not? Are your tags are right or not? Just you are you adding ARIA tag just for the sake of adding it? Are your forms are accessible or not? There are two things which I didn't spoke about: page structure and color contrast. First, I will talk about page structure because it's related to developers. When you have the components like heading, there are highly possibility that your sequence of heading is not correct, and it will give you accessibility issue. Expectation is H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. This should be the order. Now, when you are using the components, this order can be different. So what you need to do as a developer, you need to go back to your designer and request them to make a consistent web page or the screen so that the heading structure is getting followed. Designers are not aware of, most of the designers are not aware of these things. So we as a developer need to take it as an opportunity and please make them aware of these things. Testing is very important. I started my demo with Lighthouse code, which was perfect 100, yet that was not at all accessible. One more thing is that whole application was not even responsive, and one of the thing of accessibility is it should be responsive also. So you can think that testing is so much important. In accessibility, you cannot dependent upon the tools. So we have Chrome Lighthouse, we have Wave, we have X. Chrome Lighthouse use X under the hood. So all the three tools are most of are automated, and they are almost same. You can combine them, but do not dependent on them 100%. You have plugins available in your ESLint. It is helpful, but it will you need to play around with it. Test cases, and the last but not the least, manual testing, as I did. Without manual testing, you won't be able to achieve it. So thank you so much. We will meet at the backstage. If you are think digital, think about accessibility. We can connect at Twitter, and you please keep reading my blogs. They are super helpful. This is the feedback I got. So yeah, thank you so much.